So I played Modern for the first time in probably like 6 or 7 months because I've been busy, and I decided to play Blue Red Affinity because I picked up the pinnacle and the weapons stuff. I picked up the weapons for standard, and then I picked up the pinnacle soon after. And then I ended up being busy, and I didn't actually get a chance to even like sleeve this deck up, put it together, and it's actually seems like it's doing pretty good in the meta right now, and I wanted to sleeve it up, try it out. You have the Kappa Cannoneer, the Pinnacle, and the weapons manufacturing, and then your fourth kind of powerhouse card is Urza's Saga, and then Mox Opal is a super strong piece that kind of works like a gel. The deck plays a ton of zeros to really load up on the value you can get out of your uh, artifact payoff cards. What I found about this deck is that you're opening your hand and you're kind of just looking to see if the hand can do something pretty busted pretty early. And so, because it doesn't really have a lot of card draw, so you're kind of just opening up a hand and you look at it and maybe it can do something really crazy, and maybe you just have to mulligan, and then you can like get one mulligan and still end up with some pretty good hands. But deck does not mulligan to 5 very well because once you're down to 5, kind of the payoffs you get, you're going to get way less munitions or Thopters, or Kappa's going to legitimately become hard to cast. And these things did come up in my matches. I ended up going 2-1, and I had all 3 of my matches went to 3 games. So it wasn't as much of a powerhouse as I would have wanted it to be. It feels like a deck that really has the potential if you like to high roll. Like, for example, one game I played a Pinnacle, then I played an Opal. The Opal makes another spell, or is a spell that makes a Thopter, so the Opal's just live. So I play a second Pinnacle, and then I play a handful of zeros. I made 8 flying Thopters on turn 1, and that was really impressive, and I won that game. And there wasn't much that they could do about that. They're like on the draw. They don't have the kind of interaction that would stop that. It's game 1. Nuts. Really fast, really powerful. And actually, out of these main threats, the one I was most impressed with consistently was Pinnacle, and the one that actually not necessarily least impressed, but I had a couple different games where just a little bit of disruption made the Kappa like come down too slow, and then I died. So that's something to think about. How the pieces work is the Pinnacle and the weapons, you make all these different tokens. They can make your constructs really big, and if you make a bunch of munitions and you get a Ravager or Claws of Gix or explosives, I mean, there's just like a billion ways to pop your munition tokens. And the munition tokens, you can make a ton of them like crazy. And so the deck is definitely explosive. But then you also have, maybe they ruined my early game somehow with like just a key counter spell on like a Kappa or something. And now I'm top decking Claws of Gix and Tormod's Crypt and other stuff. And then you just kind of flounder and you die. In my matches, my first match was against like a blue-black Psychic Frog control. And game 1, it just kind of played out where I had multiple sagas and he was leaving his mana up, so I just kept making constructs. Like, I had Kappas in my hand, but I wasn't gonna satisfy the counter spell, and the constructs did the job basically. And then game 2, I had a hand where I think I had to mulligan to 5. I was just like no lander, and then it was like 5, and I couldn't get something meaningful on the board, and I died to basically anything because a little bit of disruption when you're already low on cards. And then game 3, I think I had a reasonably good Pinnacle start, and then I followed that up with more Saga stuff. Match 2, I played against Blue Red Prowess. Game 1, I had the double pinnacle mock start, and I played 8-1-1s on turn 1. That game was really fast. Game 2, I had a mulligan, but then like my hand was okay, and I powered out a Kappa, and then he played Meltdown and like killed all my little artifacts, which like wasn't the end of the world, except he had a slick shot show off, and he literally just raced me. It was like Kappa swing for 7, and he was like, cool, I'll come back for 12 or whatever. And so, and then game 3 was a similar. I just didn't have the removal for the slick shot, and hit me for a lot. Game 2, it was like slick shot, but it was also like 2 steel cutters. And so it was just kind of wide. So I had a Kappa and was like, I couldn't quite attack with it at a certain point. And then he got a little bit wider, and then the slick shot killed me. But game 3, he like just plotted a slick shot. And then like a turn or two later, he was like, I'm coming in for a lot. Just got me dead. And then game 3, I played against like a Death Shadow, but like the turbo Death Shadow where you're like fetch shock Thoughtseize, and then like trying to do like mutagenic Teamer Battle Rage, stuff like that. And it was cool. Game 1, he got me. He just had a nice strong start and pumped his guy up a whole bunch and like double striked it, and it was over. Game 2, I resolved a Blood Moon out of my sideboard, and he was just toast because he's got like this huge fetch shock mana base. And then game 3, we had quite a bit of interesting back and forth. I got to a point where I had a weapons manufacturing, and then I played a Ravager, and he actually managed, like, I sacked something to the Ravager to like try and kill a Monastery Swiftspear, and he like dismembered in response, and I only had 4 other artifacts on the table, so I couldn't save it. I did sack enough artifacts to kill the Swiftspear, but we just kind of went back and forth trading, and then eventually he was at like 8 life. Eventually I just landed an engineered explosives and popped it, and I had enough munitions on the table to kill him. So that's how I finished 2-1. The winning deck of the night that I didn't play against was a Basking Brood-Scale combo. We actually had a pretty good turnout for our little shop, and a nice variety of decks. There was a Tron player. There was some sort of, I think it was like a Aether Humans, and there was like a creature combo. I think it was Sam Cat. I can't be sure though because I didn't play against him, but so it might have been Yawgmoth. And yeah, so nobody was like playing the same deck, and so that was kind of cool. And then somebody was playing like a Grixis Archon Cruelty Reanimator thing, and then like the Frogtide and me on Affinity. So nice variety, which is part of the fun of Modern. You get a lot of variety. As far as the card choices go, I played pretty stock. It felt pretty good. I don't know if everyone's playing the Shadow Spear, but I like Shadow Spear. I think that's pretty good. You're kind of threat light. You definitely want to play 4 of all of these because these are like the payoffs that really make the deck go. Emery's pretty cool, but it's not always very useful. And then Ravager, like, really, like, it pairs okay with the Pinnacle and the weapons, because you can dump all of Ravager's counters onto like the unblocked flyer. So it's an extra piece of math. Not as the powerhouse that it used to be. The disruption in the main deck's like 3 Metallic Rebuke and a couple sinks, which the sinks always stay in, and the sinks are like always pretty great. And then we've got 4 Engineered Explosives, which you actually can play on 1 in a lot of matchups. You don't have a lot of 1s, and it can be pretty good as like an actual spell that you're killing stuff with that isn't just your munitions tokens. We got just a bunch of 0s here. Bauble Cycles, so it's like the best of these, but Tormod's Crypt, Welding Jar can both be randomly good, and then the Closet Gix plays really well with the munitions. Would I maybe play 1 less Closet Gix and 1 of something else? if I did it again. I kind of think so. Shout out to Closagix mentioning Cave of Koilos before Cave of Koilos was a card that got printed. That must have been pretty fun at the time if you were like playing during an apocalypse and it's like, oh, the Cave of Koilos, I've heard about this. But anyway, Vexing Bauble seems like kind of a nombo in this deck because it like counters all your zeros, but it actually plays out a lot better than that because it's like you play the bauble, you play all your zeros and then you follow it with a bauble. And then if they're like a summoner pack deck or Cascade, or it's just a random hate piece you can have that's going to be really solid. And like if you were in the mirror match and you can like play your stuff and land the bauble and then like go to their turn and you've basically chaliced on 0 most of their deck. And then when it gets back to your turn, if you have a 0 you really want to play, you just pop it to draw a card. Especially if you have like an Emery, that could be pretty brutal in a mirror match. So I didn't hate this card. It was actually pretty fine. And then we got the haste for the construct plays. That didn't come up in any of my games, but and then Pithing Needle, which honestly is a super solid card. Some things you can name with Pithing Needle that actually buy you like significant time is a Psychic Frog. That can be pretty disruptive. And another thing that you can name with Pithing Needle that can be pretty good is Blade of the Blood Chief. That can be disruptive. And I'm sure there's other ones. Probably Samwise Gamgee, or not Samwise, but the Cauldron Familiar. So they can't just pop the cat back up. Or Yawgmoth. There's more things out there than you would initially think. The card's better than it looks. And you can even, I mean, those are the main ones. And then we got the 4 sagas, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're on 15 lands plus 2 sinks. The mana felt pretty good. There were a couple times there I was like choked a mana short, but I honestly could have just had one more 0 on my hand. It didn't have to be like another physical land. And sometimes having too many lands was a bad thing. But I don't think you could go much below 15. In my matchups, I felt like Rebuke should be the sideboard card, and I would have much rather just main decked Galvanic Blast next time if I play this again. And then there's no like fetches or anything, but like the Fiery Islets can cycle to draw, which is pretty good. And then Spirebluff Canal because you're on a low land count, so it's like penalty free. Sheevan Reef is often better than Steam Vents. So like the one Steam Vents is basically if they besage you something, you get to grab blue-red dual land. That's like why you're playing a Steam Vents. But what's cool about the Sheevan Reef is you can play a Chalice for 0 counters. Same with the Urza Saga. You can use these to add 1 colorless to play Engineered Explosives with 0 Sunburst counters at 1 mana, and that way you get around a Chalice for 0. It's not a do-nothing thing. And the same thing like through a Vexing Bauble. Granted, if they have a Vexing Bauble out early, it's not going to solve your problems. And then going over the sideboard, we got a second Bauble, which I don't know that I'd ever need 2 of these. Consign's pretty great. I just didn't play that matchup. I think Cage is a super valuable Saga target that you can hit. Mystical Dispute's like in every sideboard right now, and I don't know if that's because it's one of the best answers to Kappa Cannoneer. But yeah, it seems fine. Just countering counter spells. And we got some Whip Flare for like the energy and Galvanic Blast, which like between the prowess and then like Brood Scale combo, you just want the spot removal. I almost think I would do some sort of trim in here, probably the Vexing Bauble. And I think I would put some Rebukes in the board, and I would put the Galvanics in the main next time. But next time I play Modern, I had a ton of fun this time, so I'm going to try and go and play at our next monthly Modern, and I probably won't be playing this deck. Not because I don't like it, but just because I've been working on getting all my decks updated and stuff, and just doing like some rough draft draws, seeing how it feels. I think I'm gonna play Neoform and Traxa next time because this deck is just a ton of fun. And so if I do end up doing that, I'll let you guys know how it goes. Tell me what you guys are playing in Modern, if you happen to play Modern. And thanks for watching till the end. And consider liking and subscribing and all that stuff. And I'll catch you in the next one.